Hey guys, I'm in Brooklyn, got the Navy Yard down there, Steiner Studios, and this lovely mural. I thought it would be an awesome place to review the Scott E-Sub Evo. This is a higher end model from what I looked at before. It's got an internally geared Alpine Shimano 8-speed hub, right? So, you know, when you're in the city, if you're parked in a more industrial area, you're at a bike rack or something, you'll notice there's no derailleur. It's just a little bit tougher. It keeps the shifting components out of the way, and I think they hold up over time pretty well. You're also able to shift at standstill, but my experience is that, you know, if you shift and then you just put a lot of power into it, you know, even while you're riding, it doesn't force it. Like, it kind of waits until you ease off a little bit with your pedaling. And since this is a mid-drive, you might have a lot of power behind you because, you know, the motor kicks on, it's torque sensing. So there's a little bit of, you know, kind of getting used to with these things. I'm also a fan of New Vinci's like continuously variable hub. It's a little bit fancier and stuff. This isn't quite as heavy as that. It's fairly compact, it's black, it blends in. So I think this is a pretty cool option. I was surprised by the price on this. It's $41.99, and it doesn't have a suspension fork like the other one. And that's something that I usually appreciate when you're, you know, riding over all this kind of stuff. You can see the street's got some potholes and cracks. It's nice to have a little bit of extra comfort. These aren't especially wide tires. You know, they are name brand Continental E-Contact, and they've got the Safety Plus sort of liner. But, you know, yeah, it's a consideration. Because, you know, you're going to be feeling some of those bumps. One thing that it does do, though, is it reduces the weight of the bike. So it's about 49 pounds. Considering it has these fenders and rack and everything, that's not too bad. That's pretty good. It does come in a couple sizes. I like that, you know, with the frame, especially from the side, it looks kind of elegant and sleek. And then if you get over the top, you can see that the downtube's actually wider, and they've got this plastic interface and this metal cup at the bottom. So it helps the battery blend in. I think it probably even protects the battery. Same with the chain ring here. You know, it's completely covered by this plastic thing, and then it's got a chain guard or cover that goes backwards. That's important so you don't get your pants, you know, messed up and greasy and ripped, as I have over the years and months and weeks of riding and having fun on all these bikes. So what I'm saying is this is a pretty awesome commuter machine. That's how I'd view it. It's efficient. Not having a suspension means you're not losing any efficiency to bob. It's an all aluminum frame. But one area you might consider upgrading, and I say this a lot, is the 31.6 millimeter seat post there. You could replace that with a Thud Buster, a Body Float. Suntour has an NCX. They all add, you know, a few inches, so your seat can't go quite as low. But because this comes in a couple sizes, you could buy the frame that fits. And, you know, again, it's a high step here, so that makes it rigid. It's going to make it easier to put this on a bike rack. They didn't include bottle cages, which, you know, I feel like there's room right here. That seems like a missed opportunity. You can always get the ones that clamp on aftermarket. You can always use a saddlebag back here or panniers, and they've got these, you know, it's kind of bungee thing with a clip integrated already. So and a clasp. You know, it's kind of got everything. This is a RackTime rack, and you can slide on some of their accessories. There's like the holes here, proprietary interface that they do. I guess just one area you want to be careful of, especially if you have a bag up here, is since it's a high step, if you don't step over the frame, if you do what I do sometimes and you swing your leg over, it's easy to knock your shin on that rack. It's not a lot of fun. So coming back to the fenders, I like how thin and lightweight they are. They're even kind of paint matched here, gray with silver accents, and I like that. They're pretty long, and of course they have these beautifully integrated lights. I think Bosch and Mueller does these, and this one's, it's kind of like their senior is what they call it, and it's got a bunch of LEDs, 9 or 10. I was trying to count them, but I was going blind. And then up here, we've got a Bosch and Mueller eye, very bright. You can angle it up or down if you want to. It's all integrated, so all this runs off the main battery pack, which is really nice. And you've got a really good capacity here. This is 36 volts, 11 amp hours, and it's the Bosch Powerpack 400. They have a newer one too that you can upgrade to, the Powerpack 500, to get even more range. These are very, very plentiful. Like, a lot of different shops and bikes have them, so it's the kind of thing you could replace over time. Bosch has a really awesome warranty for all their stuff. It's like 2-year comprehensive. And yeah, it's got a loop up top, makes it easy to kind of pick up. It locks to the frame pretty securely right there, and it's got a little battery indicator on the side. Here's the charging port down here. You can actually charge it on the frame or off the frame, and that just makes it really convenient. I'm the kind of person that likes to leave my battery on the bike most of the time, and I just wheel it into my house. You know, I have lived upstairs, it's more to lift, but a bike like this is a little bit easier to kind of carry, and then it's just no fuss, right? I don't have to worry about dropping the battery pack or plugging it in, or it's just simple that way. And again, just stepping back here, I love how integrated it looks, considering that it's also pretty easy to get on and off. You can see a lot of the wires on this bike are also really cleanly integrated right here through the down tube, and even the lights. You can kind of see from the bottom here, there's like a plastic, I don't know, interface for where they connect, and it's really sleek. I really like that. It's clean. The brakes on this are also really great. Got Shimano hydraulic discs, or the upgraded rotors here, 180 millimeter front, 160 in the rear, pretty standard. But they've got adjustable reach and 2-finger levers. You really don't need that much force when you're activating these. Sometimes I even use just 1 finger, and that means better grip and just higher performance when you're riding. These are locking grips, kind of the Synchros brand. I think that's part of Scott's deal. And they're a little bit ergonomic. You can see there's like that bulge in the middle. That's something I've only ever seen on their bikes, and I kind of like it. It just gives you something to hold on to. Feels a little bit nicer. Got a few different risers here, 10 millimeter, I believe, just to kind of get it up. But this is a bit more active. You're going to be a little bit more forward. You can see the seat too, a little bit more active. This is a bike that you pedal. It's a class 1 electric bike. That means it can go 20 miles per hour at the top speed. You've got 4 different assist levels with the Bosch Intuvia interface that I'm going to go into in a minute, but I don't want to forget to mention that reflective sidewall again. It's showing up nicely right now, and this is sort of an overcast day, and it has been raining. It's the kind of day that really makes you appreciate electric bikes that have the fenders and stuff. Like, I'm not wet, I'm not hating it. You know, it's working pretty well. Okay, so down here it's the Bosch Performance line. This is their 350 watt motor. Gives you about 63 newton meters of torque at the high end. And the highest watt rating that I've seen is like 570, so you really get a lot of power with this thing. I've used that same motor on mountain bikes, and I've done fine. I've like climbed the path, gotten myself to the top of a mountain, and so on a bike like this with efficient tires, where you're probably just climbing like a hill or maybe the ramp to the Brooklyn Bridge or something, this is overkill, and it's great. It lasts a long time. It's a really reliable motor. And then coming back to that Intuvia interface I was talking about before, this thing is also removable. So, you know, the battery's removable, the display's removable, and that's great when you're parking at that rack. You don't want people to mess with it, or just their handlebars could scrape it accidentally or whatever. Turn it on by pressing that power button. It's even kind of backlit, which is nice. And there's a little micro USB charging port on the right side under that flap, so you can charge your GPS or your music player or whatever. And I love that this button pad is remote, so you can interact with it independently. You don't have to take your hand off the grip. That's key. 5 little dots on the battery, speed in the middle, and then a whole bunch of different menus down here that you can cycle through using that I button. So let's start with odometer, trip distance, clock, max speed, average speed, trip time, and then range is really cool. And it helps to make up for like the more basic battery display, in my opinion. If I arrow up to eco, it dynamically calculates, like, you know, how's this person been riding, how is the bike doing, how much battery do we have, and it tells me like, well, we think you can go 70 miles. That is awesome. Like, I do a ton of these reviews, and sometimes it says 60, sometimes it says 50. The batteries are at different levels, but also some of those bikes are heavier, they aren't as efficient, so this thing is really dynamic that way, and I think that's awesome. 70 miles. I usually ride an eco or tour, and tour is saying 35 miles. You know, you definitely feel it more. The motor's giving you a lot more assistance, and it's measuring your wheel speed back here with that magnet, your cadence, and your pedal torque. So it's the kind of bike that you pedal, you know, it's active, but when you really start to get up in those higher levels of assist, like turbo, you really don't have to push very hard, and that's great because my knees are sensitive. I love that it also has like a wider range of RPM operation, so you can spin faster, and the motor isn't gonna like give out on you like it does on some other bikes. So big fan of the Bosch setup that way. I think that's a great overview. I'm actually here with Chris Nolte from Propel Bikes in Brooklyn. Hey, Chris.
Hey.
You know, I appreciate you letting us get out here and get the bikes a little bit dirty, because it is kind of damp today. It's been fun looking at these Scott bikes. It's the first time I've seen them at any shop, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
why do you guys
absolutely.
carry them? Like, what did you like about it?
One of the interesting things about this bike in particular was with the internally geared hub. It's, you know, it's not super heavy considering it has all the accessories kind of built into it.
Yeah.
I think it's a good commuter bike for the city. And I really like the design of it, kind of flat black and keep it really simple and that sort of thing.
Blends in.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, just the toughness of it is pretty cool. For something that looks kind of agile and sporty, I think it's actually pretty tough. You know, and we've been seeing some of the bike racks around town. You sell a whole bunch of locks. It's like you want to keep your bike.
Yeah, absolutely.
And carrying those locks, when you can have a rack like this. I think this one's rated at 25 kilograms. Yeah, it's about 55 pounds. That's a lot of weight. You could put some locks, you could put a pannier and have your backpack. Some of the panniers, I think you could take it off and wear it like a backpack. And that's nice if you are traveling a little bit further to get to work or whatever, so your back and your neck don't get as beat up.
Right, absolutely.
You know, that's cool. And I guess what we're looking at here is one of the 2016 models.
We've been checking them out for the past couple years in Eurobike, and you know, we're excited that they're coming to the U.S. and we're seeing more and more brands kind of dipping their toes in, and we hope that, you know, we see more from them and other brands.
Yeah, me too. One of my first spikes was Scott, and it was like a mountain bike kind of design. So there's a little part of me that really likes this. I think it's a good chance to hop on this thing, go for a quick ride, and just show the motor and, you know, do that kind of thing.
Sounds great.
You ready for it?
Yep.
It also has a nice adjustable kickstand, which I like. It's far back, so you can back the bike up like I'm doing right now without worrying about pedals colliding. There we go. I'm just gonna ride up this way because the street's pretty clear, and then maybe we can even switch off. So I'm in turbo. You're gonna hear that chainring spin, but you can't see it, unfortunately. This bike's a little bit compact for me, but it actually creates a nice sort of upright feel, which I sort of like. The Bosch drive system also has shift sensing, so it can tell when you're changing gears, and it tries to ease off on how hard the motor is pushing to save your chain, to save your sprockets. Since this only has one sprocket in the rear, the chain's pretty tight. It's not going to bounce and hopefully not nick that a chain stay. It just means that you're not going to lose the chain as often. It's a pretty good setup, but like I was saying before, there's a little bit of getting used to because the shifting works slightly differently, given that this is a geared hub. So, you know, that's something to keep an eye on. I hope you could hear how quickly the motor was activating and stopping, because it really is impressive the way they've got this motor set up. I mean, it's almost instant, and that could be the difference between stopping, you know, or skidding out a little bit, or, you know, that kind of thing. Some of the other bike systems take a little bit more time, and they require brakes with motor inhibitors. This one is so fast they don't even need that. That's kind of a cool little upgrade. Chris, can we do the thing where, you know, maybe I get some shots of you riding on this thing, third-person perspective?
Sounds great.
Thanks, man. Oh, and again, I was in turbo, so, you know, it was a little bit more pronounced, but when you're down in eco or tour, it's actually pretty quiet. Okay, go for it. Good. You want to hit the lights? I like that light even has kind of a side window on it. I'm gonna go behind you. Pretty cool. Maybe we can just ride back on the, yeah. You good? Lead on. Sweet. Well, Chris, thank you so much. It's awesome to get a little bit of help out here.
You got it.
Especially it gets kind of rainy, and we're out on a couple different bikes. We've been testing a whole bunch of these models, and you're just really well set up for the city. You got the bikes with the fenders. They look good. They're durable, and from what we've been talking about, you carry almost exclusively Bosch because you like how reliable it is. Can you speak to that? Just honestly, what your thoughts are?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we work with a lot of different motor systems, and over time, as you sell a lot of bikes, you start to recognize certain trends in different systems and reliability and everything like that. And over the past 3+ years we've been selling the Bosch system, we've actually haven't had one motor failure yet.
Wow.
So there's little things here and there that you might experience, but they're really simple fixes. And for us, when thinking about people using bikes for transportation, you really need something that's dependable. People don't get in their car every day thinking that I'm not sure if it's going to start, or I'm not sure if it's going to give me trouble. I mean, some people do, but that's kind of a small percentage. You want something that's dependable, and that's why we really like working with them, and we're starting to put kind of more and more energy behind their systems. I think some of the companies are starting to catch up there, but I think that they kind of have a head start, and they really have a leading advantage there.
Cool. Great. That's one of the things when people are talking about price, and it's like, is it worth it? Is it worth spending more? But depending on how you use your bike, it definitely can be.
I think that's the other thing to consider about with the Bosch system, about serviceability and the long-term life cycle of the product. If you have a bike, a lot of people have bikes for 20, 30 plus years. And if you buy a bike with the Bosch system, you could pretty much know that you're going to be supported for many years to come.
Yeah.
Some of the other more proprietary systems, it becomes a little bit more questionable whether the motor is going to continue to be available, whether the batteries.
Yeah, the battery's key, because even if Scott went out of business, Bosch is not going out of business, and they got batteries.
Yeah, and then they're continuing to make their batteries available, like you were mentioning before, the 500 watt hour. You can put it on the older bike.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing, and
it's really cool.
So it's a really nice feature to their system.
Well, thanks for the little segue. It's cool. Absolutely. It's cool to get this feedback. I learn out here when we do this as well. So the full write-up, some of the measurements I did back at the website, ElectricBikeReview.com. And of course, you're out in the city, just ride safe, have a good time.
Bye.